With how the furry fandom is growing at a pretty consistent rate, in which most new members are a younger subset of furries who wish to grow their involvement in the fandom, it's kinda inevitable that the parents of some young furs will learn about the activities and agendas relating to the fandom as well. As much as it would be wonderful for all parents of furries, both young and old, to be accepting towards their child's hobby, that unfortunately isn't always the case. Parents will have a different mindset about what the fandom is and if they'll allow or be supportive towards their child being involved in it. And despite being fully informed about the reality of who we really are, parents can still have a negative view on the furry fandom due to a variety of reasons. But heyo guys, my name's BetaEtaDelota, and today we'll be talking about why parents of furries may be against or might misunderstand the furry fandom, or something close to that subject matter that isn't entirely negative. Now I don't usually do these types of videos mainly because there are more factors at play in the whys and hows to the question than just the points I make. But after some thorough research and interviewing with my own parents and moms of furries, I feel confident enough to be able to discuss this topic. So prepare to be enlightened. Now I know a lot of you who watch my videos are in the situation where your parents may be against the idea of you being in the furry fandom or having an interest in cute and fluffy animals. Hell, you may or may not have even told your parents about your furry fandom interests, but they still may show prejudice against that hobby. Overall, this is probably a concerning thing for you, especially if you don't want to disappoint them. Or if you live with them, because having a roof to sleep under is kinda nice. And even though I won't be talking about how to go about explaining your interests to them, or if you should tell them at all, I do want to go over some of the factors as to why they might be preemptively against it. For the sake of keeping this discussion short and sweet, I narrowed down 3 relevant reasons as to why most parents of furries are against the fandom in general. These cases may or may not apply to your parents, but I do encourage you to take these reasons into account for other situations. But without further ado, let's begin. The first point I see as to why parents may be against the fandom is their lack of knowledge about the fandom itself. Now this isn't suggesting that parents are dumb or can't understand, but there really is no easy to find source that informs people about what furries are in a proper manner. The best possible method of explaining what furries are is through the article by Fursona, and I still had to do a bit of digging to find it. Most parents will probably do a simple "what is a furry" search and find this. Okay, that's unsettling even for me. Unfortunately, from this lack of informative content, parents can then make assumptions about the fandom based on what they only know. And if the bad aspects of the fandom are seen before the good aspects, then parents will more than likely only focus on the bad aspects. Okay, you know how first impressions are lasting impressions? Yeah, I wasn't kidding. From there, it's a lot harder to convince parents that the fandom is a good thing if they've only conceived the negative portions. So for this reason as to why parents may be against furries, it's like taking a shot in the dark hoping your parents won't find the bad stuff. As soon as any negatives are seen by parents within the context of their children, then that's all they need to know. The second reason why parents might be against the fandom is due to their fear for the safety and well-being of their child. Now this directly ties into the last point I made and explains why parents might jump the gun if the negative aspects are revealed first or even at all, which is inevitable. Even if the positives are seen and the best possible explanation can be made about the furry fandom to parents, they may still have that natural fear because the furry fandom is a new concept to them. And this fear can come in multiple forms, such as if their child is going to get hurt or if something will happen to them by getting too involved or by talking with people online. Now as much as talking with people online is an issue from like the Windows 95 era, it's still unfortunately an issue. But for my case, which is a very valid point for some of us, my parents feared that I was going to be bullied by friends or other people who found out I was a furry. Now I'm personally very transparent about what I like to do, and I'll discuss things that need to be said to those who want to hear it, which this may or may not be a bad thing. So it makes sense that parents may worry about this, especially if their child has had a past history in dealing with bullying. Like me. I'm just saying, all guy Catholic high schools are brutal. Trust me though, parents might not like the fandom or want you to be involved, not to spite you, but because they love you, which really is something to think about. And finally, the third reason why parents might be against the fandom is due to their expectations they might have for their kids. Now this unfortunately is something that can only be controlled so much, especially depending on the type of parents you might have. Parents naturally have hopes and dreams that their children will be able to achieve so much in their lifetime. And even if they don't care what their kids do as long as they're successful and happy, expectations are unfortunately set not in the sense that parents demand it, but they hope and pray for the final conclusion to happen. For example, my parents wanted me to be a doctor because my grandfather was a surgeon, and so they might not have demanded I do it, but they hoped I would, and in turn they have some level of disappointment from me wanting to be an engineer, even though I'm not cut out to be one. But for hobbies like the furry fandom, it's kinda different, in which this sort of interest can cause a greater reaction, both in the positive or negative aspects. Like stated before, parents never grew up with this sort of hobby or interest in their lives, so they more than likely won't be able to relate with the furry fandom. It's seen as the abnormal hobby to be interested in by most people, and it more than likely will always be that way. So if parents hear about their child being a furry, they may be disappointed due to what society thinks. Parents may think that their child has come to such a low point in their life that the parents don't know how to react or even treat this hobby. So unfortunately, it's up to us to have some sort of damage control that can help negotiate with parents about their child's hobby while also informing future parents of furries in a proper manner, which we actually are working on today. A couple of mothers known as MomsOfFurries are a part of this message to parents who have children who just so happen to be involved in the furry fandom. But instead of explaining who they are or what they do, I'll let them introduce themselves. So please give a warm welcome to the Moms of Furries.
Hi, we are the Moms of Furries. I'm Carrie.
I'm Joelle.
And together we have a YouTube channel and we have a presence in social media. Our kids are furries and came to us and brought us into the fandom. We've had a great time and we feel like it has been a wonderful outlet for our families.
Yes, agreed. And Beta, we think that you've put together a really comprehensive list of the main reasons parents have like that negative view when a kid comes to them and says, hey, I'm into this fandom. The ugly, sensational items are always easier to find. You have to dig a little deeper to the good stuff. So that's definitely true. We second going to First Science. They have such great information.
They do.
So that's the place to go. And safety. Safety is always a concern for parents. That's our number one concern, I'd say. So, but we have to be safe in all aspects of life, and I don't think the fandom really varies much from that, from like our normal thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I also would want to say about the bullying. These days, you hear bullying for every reason. The one good thing about being in the fandom is that your kid gains this giant support system. So if they are being bullied, they have great friends that will help them through that period of time.
Definitely.
So I think that you've really covered all the bases.
Yes, and we would say if you are a parent out there and your child has come to you and told you that they want to be a part of the fandom or that they are a part of the fandom, don't panic. Take a deep breath, do a little research, because it can be a wonderful, creative, safe outlet for your child and something that you can share together.
Oh, definitely. If you are able to go to a con, take your kid, experience it for yourself, and you will understand the draw, at least. Even if you don't get into it yourself, you will understand why your kid wants to be part of this wonderful group.
Couldn't agree more. All right. Love you, Beta.
Moms really are awesome. I know this video has been going on for a while now, but I will say one last thing to those in the fandom who have parents against furries or you being involved with them. Everything will work out in the end. If you are passionate about this hobby and only want to focus on the good aspects, parents will notice that and they'll hopefully learn to accept you for who you are. No matter what, your parents do love you and hopefully want the best for you. Then again, you could just not care what they think about your furry side and just move out depending on your age. That's always an option, but I'll leave that one up to you. Just remember, life is too short for you to worry about what others may think about what you're interested in. As long as you're happy, you're not hurting yourself and you're not hurting others, that's all that matters. But either way, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below as always. I'd also like to give a big thank you to Moms of Furries for working with me on this video. They were very helpful with giving a different perspective to parents in the furry fandom, so please go and check out their work if you haven't already. Besides that, have a good day guys. And as always, stay life jacket. Take care.